Our hotel, Grand Via, offered several fine dining options, and we chose Korinsen, which featured tempura. We had been enjoying bento boxes and sushi, but we were ready for a cooked meal. So we each chose a combination entree and were willing to be surprised. Our lovely server brought delicacy after delicacy, offered no explanation, but bowed politely as she served each course, and maintained a steady flow of tea and sake. To this day, we have no idea what we ate, but most of it appeared to come from the sea and was quite tasty. The next morning, the sun was shining, and we were off to see the treasures of Kyoto. There's so much to see in Kyoto, we had to pick and choose. We stopped briefly at a street crammed with people and looked up to see a tower of the Kiyomizu-dera Buddhist temple high above. Climbing up to it looked a bit daunting, so we kept moving. We drove past not one, but 5 gates, all leading into Nishi-hongan-ji, another very large Buddhist temple complex. We learned it had been here since 1591. So we figured it would be patiently waiting for us when we came again. Couldn't do it all this trip. Finally, we spotted what looked a lot like a castle, complete with a moat. And that's exactly what it was. Nijo-jo Castle. We couldn't resist. We found out that it was a shogun castle during Japan's Edo period, from 1603 to 1867, when the Tokugawa shogunate fell. We eagerly bought tickets and entered. Once inside, we came to a much more elaborate gate. Lots of Chinese influence here. There's nothing like gold leaf to convey the idea that something's pretty special. Over time, many buildings were added to this complex, but Nijo-jo Castle is equally renowned for its gorgeous Japanese gardens. Little wonder that after the shogunate fell after more than 2.5 centuries, thus ending the Edo period, this property became an imperial palace. It was eventually donated to the city of Kyoto and opened to the public as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A highlight of our castle visit for me was going inside the Ninomaru Palace, which had been built by Tokugawa Ieyasu, the first shogun of the Edo period. We needed special tickets for that. No shoes were allowed, no cameras either. But thank goodness for images on the internet. The palace actually consists of 6 buildings connected by corridors whose straw mat-covered floors were designed to squeak when you walked on them. That served as a form of security in ancient times. I was entranced by the gorgeous paintings on the sliding doors, which were done by artists of the Kano school, dating from the 15th century. The ceiling decorations were equally rich and impressive. Here, a powerful shogun sits alone at one end of the largest hall, addressing his feudal lords who commanded armies of samurai warriors. With that immersion in history, we exited Nijo-jo Castle and headed for our next destination. Kinkaku-ji Temple, now known as the Golden Pavilion, has a storied past. Once upon a time, there was a powerful statesman and poet who owned a villa in Kyoto that he sold in the year 1397 to the 3rd shogun of the Muromachi period. 11 years later, the shogun's son converted the villa into a Zen Buddhist temple, following the wishes of his father. Additional buildings had been added to the property, but tragically, all the buildings except the temple were destroyed in the 15th century Anin War. 5 centuries later, in 1950, the temple was also destroyed when a mentally disturbed novice monk set fire to it. So what we see today is an accurate replica of the original temple, beautifully positioned on a reflective lake to inspire Buddhists and visitors alike as the Golden Pavilion. It required 48 kilograms of gold leaves worth nearly $3 million, to totally cover the second and third stories of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. We wanted to go inside, but that was not allowed. The temple houses a significant relic, some ashes of the Buddha. A brass phoenix sits atop the temple, signifying goodwill brought by a sunbird descending from the heavens. Take a Zen moment to enjoy the beautiful lake and distinctive trees that surround the Golden Pavilion. As we began to exit, following a group of well-mannered school children, my camera caught sight of a pretty mother and her daughter in traditional kimonos.